and Happy New Year. It's a pleasure to be here this morning as we begin the empowerment series. Something that I always look forward to, something that I enjoy, and something that we continue to learn and grow from. And thank you once again for this opportunity to just this platform to be here, because it's a great platform for us to learn every month at no cost apart from logging in to listen and learn. What a pleasure for us to be able to grow together this year beginning today. So let me quickly share my slides so that we get straight to presentation. Our topic this morning is your career, your impact. Your career, your impact. Or even personalize it, my career, my impact. My career, my impact. Thinking about my career and my impact, I would like us to begin with a statement right here. Your career is more than a job. Your career is more than a job. Discuss. Hey, that takes us back to general paper. Your career is more than a job. Discuss. Right here, a few of us unmute. Could you type in the chat? What is your thought around this? Is it true? You agree? What do you feel about that statement? That your career is more than your job. What are your thoughts about that statement? You can type in the chat, or you can unmute and share. Your career is more than a job. What's your take on that statement? What are your thoughts? Your career is more than a job. Or is your job a career? Okay, Kathy says, I agree. Okay, so Kathy, if you would just share a little bit more, why do you agree? What makes you agree, Kathy? I'm seeing here another comment from Gilbert. Gilbert says, a career builds purpose. They can get a notch higher. A career builds purpose, right? Thank you. Your career is more than a job. Let me hear two more comments and I proceed. Okay, one more is coming through here from Barbara. My career involves several jobs. Right there. My career involves several jobs. So across in the course of your career, you'll find that you've gone through a number of jobs. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. One more comment. Okay, here comes Gilbert again. And a job pays bills. Okay, now he qualifies it by saying a career builds purpose and a job pays bills. Right, keep them coming. I'm liking the interaction already, so please let's keep it interactive so that we can all listen and learn from each other. Now, again, I will pose another question. Is there a difference between your job and your work? And if so, what is it? Is there a difference between your job and your work? If so, what is it? Is there a difference between your job and your work? And if it is there, if you think it is there, what is it? What would be the difference between your job and your work? Okay, I see a comment from Geoffrey saying career is more than a job because it represents a long-term evolving journey of professional growth, spanning multiple roles, experiences, and education designed to achieve overarching personal and financial goals, rather than just earning a paycheck. While a job is a single short-term task-oriented role, A career encompasses your skills, passion, and strategic planning for the future. Okay, thank you so much, Geoffrey. That's quite a ton of insight there. David Semakula, Rotarian David Semakula says, you can lose your job, but your career is permanent. You can lose your job, but your career is permanent. Okay. And here we are saying, Barbara comes in to say, my job pays the bills. My work is my calling and my purpose. Thank you, Barbara. My job is what pays the bills, but my work is my calling and my purpose. Right. Thank you, Barbara. We have, okay, I think from our host, work is any activity where effort is used to achieve something. Reminds me of the definition of work. Okay, force times distance. A job is a specific paid position that you are employed to do. Quite some interesting observations there. And last but not least for now, Gilbert says, I would say a job is an official position that one may hold, but work is a deeper contribution. Okay, so let's pay attention to some of those words that are coming through. Job is an official position that one may hold, but work is a deeper contribution. And Mabel says, career is part of your life. Meanwhile, you live long. Career is part of your life. Meanwhile, you live along with it. Okay, thank you. Career is part of your life. Meanwhile, you live along with it. All right. Thank you so much all for your contribution so far. Let's listen into a short video clip from Miles Monroe talking about the difference between your job and your work. Here we go.
A lot of people are losing their jobs today, but you were not born to be employed.
The volume is a bit low, so you can tune it up on your device to listen to that particular clip. So here it goes again.
A lot of people are losing their jobs today, but you were not born to be employed. You were born to be deployed. And when your job becomes more important than your work, you better never lose your job. What people have done in life is if they actually live for a job and they never find their work, your job is what you were paid to do. Your work is what you were born to do. Your gift is more important than your skill. Your skill is what they trained you to do. Your gift is what you were born with. God sent this ministry into your life to tell you right now that your job is not your life and your job is not your work. There's life after your job. Your job is what they pay you to do. Your work is what you were born to do. And if you lose your job, they can never take away your gift, your work. And your work is what makes you prosperous, because your work is your gift. And the scripture says that a man's gift makes room for him in the world, not a man's job, his gift. So if you are unemployed today because you lost your job, God is telling you today, find your work. Your work will sustain you when you lose your job. Your gift will sustain you when you lose your skill. And the kingdom of God follows the spirit of gifting. This is why what you were born to do is more important than what you were trained to do.
Okay, quite a lot of things coming through there. I don't know what you pick up from that clip. If you may just type for me in the chat. Quite a number of things were said there about your work and your job. One of them being that you were not born to be employed, you were born to be deployed. Okay, you were born to be deployed. Now, that is not to say anything about anyone who is employed right now, because for you to deploy your skill, you have to first learn to employ it. So it's not just something that you hear and then you say, okay, I'm going to quit my job. No. This is just something for us to learn exactly what we have been talking about, our work and our job. Okay. Anything that stands out for you, if I may ask, from that short video? And I see a comment as you type, maybe your key insight from the video. What would you say stands out for you from what you've heard from Dr. Miles Monroe? Okay, here I see a comment from Stanley that says, we spend most of our lives in the careers we choose, so the work we do becomes one of the biggest ways we impact the world. Because we give it our time and years, it shapes not only our future, but also the lives of others. Thank you. And then Barbara says, my work involves my gift. Okay. And Ronald Megade says, it's philosophical. Okay, it's philosophical. Thank you. Thank you, Ronald, for that comment. Gilbert says, the work is the gift, and this is outstanding for me. Okay. So your job is what you are paid to do. Your work is what you were born to do. It says something there that you can be fired from your job, but you cannot be fired from your work. You can be fired from your job, but you cannot be fired from your work. You can leave your job, but you can continue the work. The work of your life does not end when your job comes to an end. Sometimes jobs come to an end for different reasons. It could come to an end because you have retired. It could come to an end because you have decided, I'm going to stop working in this place. But the work of your life, the overarching purpose, the reason as to why your calling is what it is, that never stops. Even when you cease to hold that job title, even when you retire, even when you decide to say, I have left this job, the work of your life does not come to an end. So that is a brief difference between the job and the work. For more details and more information about that simple concept, go to your YouTube, type your job versus your work, Miles Monroe. You will find a number of resources that can help you in case you're on that journey. So as we think about job, work, career, impact, the question is not what is my job title? Rather, what impact am I making through my work? The question is not what is my job title? The question is what impact am I making through my work? That is going to form the bigger part of our presentation or our discussion this morning. So let's talk about impact. When you think about impact, impact is the positive difference your work makes beyond you. The positive difference that you'd make with your work beyond you. That is impact. The positive difference. What impact are you making in your role as a teacher, in your role as an accountant? What impact? The positive difference that your work makes beyond you. Your work, or in this case, whatever you do, it pays your bills. It gives you a living. But life is not just about earning a living. Life is also about making a life. Let me say that again. Life is not just about earning a living. Life is also about making a life. So when your work goes ahead and you make a positive difference in other people's lives beyond you, now that is what we are calling impact. If it is just there for yourself to pay your bills and live a comfortable life, then it is not yet significant. In fact, John Maxwell talks about the difference between success and significance. And he says that success is when you achieve your goals. But significance is when you enable other people to also achieve their goals. So when you begin to make impact, you are now moving from success to significance. How impactful are you in your career? And impact can show up in many ways. Impact can show up in many ways. Maybe if I may ask at this point, what are some of the ways we can see impact through the work that we do? How can we see impact? How does impact show up in the work, in the areas that we pursue or in the work that we do? Any thoughts there? How could you see impact, okay, in the work or in the career that one is about? Impact. 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 Or if I may just give you one example, it can be in the policies that you shape or that you improve. You could improve a policy that improves other people's life and well-being. That is now impact. That in your term of office, that while you were there recently, right now we're in the process of electing leaders. For those that have finished their 5-year term, the recent 5-year term, the recent term from 2016, no, from 2021 to 2026, what impact did they make while they were in office, while they held that position? What policy did they bring? What policy have they put in place that could have shaped or improved the lives of people? What impact have you made? Impact. Impact. What impact have you left? Okay. Lives that are changed. Thank you very much, Barbara. Lives that are changed. Okay. It could be people that you influenced or people that you mentored or empowered. That even when you have gone and moved on, maybe you have retired or you have moved on to another place, there are people you influenced where you were. There are people you mentored. There are students you empowered. That even when they have moved on and left the school, St. Mark's College, Namagoma, they look back and they say, that inspiration night made a significant difference in my life. Impact. Impact. Now we are talking about long-term impact, even beyond the workplace, even beyond the job title. Who did you influence? Who did you mentor? Who did you empower? Who can look back and say, because of you, I am what I am? People you influenced, people you mentored, people you empowered. Okay. I'm seeing here, as a teacher, you can see behavior change in a child. Absolutely. Thank you very much. You can impact a child. Impact a child, not just to be disciplined in the school, but to be ready for life. Because I look at school as a season of preparation for a lifetime of service. It's just a season. You are with this child for maybe 1 year in your class. But for the rest of their life, they may look back and say, because of the time I spent with Mr. So-and-so, because of my time in Form 3 or with Form 4 or Form 5, because of the conversation I had with a certain teacher on the compound, I am what I am. Impact goes beyond our job title. I'm seeing some comments here. Positive legacy. I see feedback from your workmates and the customers. Tasks completed. What people talk about you in your absence. Thank you very much. Feedback from clients. That's how you can tell impact. Impact. Okay. It can even show up as the institutions that were strengthened while you were there. While you were there, you did something to show you that the institution was strengthened. Okay. It could also be the decisions that were formed by your insight. Maybe you made some decisions through your insight, and those continued to impact the organization. It could be trust that was built between stakeholders. So there are different ways we can think about impact. But most importantly, I want you to remember at the end of the day, there are three categories of people. Number one, there are people that will be remembered for the great things they did, the great policies they shaped, the people they influenced, mentored, and empowered, the institutions they strengthened, the insights that they brought through their decisions. There are people that will be remembered for the great things they did. That's category number one. Category number two, there are people that will be remembered for the bad things they did. Believe it or not, there are people who remember for the bad things they did. We remember Adolf Hitler for the bad things he did. We remember Pontius Pilate. Every Sunday we go and we say he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. We remember Pontius Pilate for the bad thing he did. He condemned an innocent person. There are people that will be remembered for the bad things they did. Number three, there are people that will not be remembered at all. So you talk about someone and no one even remembers what you're talking about. At the end of the day, can we use our impact to make a positive difference in people's lives so that even when we have moved on, there is a positive legacy that we have left behind? Impact can show up in such ways. I'm seeing another comment from tangible results. The results that you achieved, that can also have impact. So we need a shift in mindset from what am I required to do, from what is my job task, from what am I required to do? We need to shift from what am I required to do to what difference can I make from where I sit? What difference can I make? How can I go beyond my task? How can I use my career as a tool for influence, as a platform for impact, as an opportunity for service? We need to move our mindsets from what I'm required to do to making a difference around the community. And in a way, that brings me to the 5 buckets concept. The 5 buckets concept, a concept for building an impactful career. This is the concept that is designed by a gentleman called Stephen Bartlett. He is the author of a book called The Diary of a CEO. In that book, he talks about 33 laws for life and business. And law number 1 is fill your buckets in order. Now, he talks about 5 buckets, and they follow a certain order. 5 buckets. Bucket number 1 is the bucket of knowledge. The bucket of knowledge is the bucket about what you know. That is a bucket of knowledge, what you know. You cannot have an impactful career if you do not know certain things. How do you expand your knowledge base? There are things that you need to know if you are going to be impactful. For you to have an impactful career, for you to have a successful career that is going to have impact, you need to have knowledge. You need to expand and increase your knowledge. That means you need to be learning. You need to constantly be seeking knowledge by reading books, attending seminars, attending courses, expanding your knowledge base. We live in the information world. Today, we have more information available to us than ever before in history. Ignorance is not an excuse today because you can literally teach yourself anything. 2 days ago, I was doing a session on self-discovery, the journey of self-discovery. And I asked the gentleman who was taking pictures, I asked him, what course did you do? He told me that he studied information systems or IT. Currently, he is doing his own business as a photographer. He's in the video and photography world. So I asked him, how did you get there? He told me, first of all, I loved what I'm doing. Secondly, I taught myself. I did online courses to teach myself. Today, you can teach yourself anything because knowledge is available to us. And these buckets are in order, by the way. This is how they follow. This is why they even say, when you get a job, don't just get a job to earn money. Most importantly, get a job to learn. To learn. Because you heard it from Miles Monroe, that your work is more important than your job. Your job is important, but most importantly, your job prepares you for your work. Because even if you leave the job, if you have served in a school for maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years, and you say it is time for me to move on, it is okay. The question is, what did you learn while you were at St. Mark's College, Namakoma? What did you learn about how the directors handle their staff? What did you learn about how they interact with students? What did you learn about the programs they have put in place to equip and empower students for life? What did you learn? Don't just get a job to earn. Get a job to learn. Because when you learn more, you will earn more. Your knowledge. Expand your knowledge. Read, watch videos, listen to audios, attend courses. There is so much knowledge available to us. Bucket number 1, your knowledge. Bucket number 2 is your skills. This is when you turn knowledge into practice. You do not acquire skills by only acquiring knowledge. No, you acquire skills through applying the knowledge. So in other words, your skills are about what you can do. Your skills. And I would like to implore you to develop 4 essential skills. There are skills. All of us need different skills in our different careers. So perhaps what you want to do first is, in your job, in your career, in your current role right now, you need to ask yourself a question. What are the core skills that I need for me to excel in my current role? What core skills do you need to excel in your current role? So let me ask, for example, if someone is a teacher, now that we are talking in the platform of the alumni of Smacon, for a teacher, what skills does a teacher need to excel in their role as a teacher? Let me ask, type for me in the chat. What skills, what skills does a teacher need to excel in their role as a teacher? Let me hear from you. You can type for me in the chat, or you can unmute and share. What skills does a teacher need to excel in their role as a teacher? What skills does a teacher need in order for you to excel in your role as a teacher? We have a few comments here. Guidance and counseling. Thank you very much. So, developing the skill of guidance and counseling, because yes, you'll come and teach the math, integration, and differentiation, but then you see this child, and in your sense, from the back of your heart, you feel, I think this child is not okay. In addition to your ability to teach these subjects, the biology, the chemistry, the math, and the physics, and the history, the geography, can you develop the ability to do some guidance and counseling? I still remember back in my Form 1, there was a teacher doing CRE. She was teaching us CRE. And I still remember she mentioned a statement that really gave me peace. She said, never, what was she? I'm trying to put it in the exact way she put it, but she was trying to say, don't judge yourself for something that God gave you, something that is natural about you. And back in the day, students really used to pick up on certain people and they would make fun of their body parts. Okay. So, for example, for some people, if someone I remember there was a particular boy who had a big nose. And so what students would do is when they would enter the class, they would begin to be like they are talking to pretend that he's taking up all the oxygen. So the rest of us are suffocating because his big nose has taken up the entire oxygen. That is something that can easily take away someone's esteem. They can begin to look at themselves in the mirror and they may not like what they see. For a tall person, they would say, for you, I think by the time the milk reaches the stomach, it has gone bad because of the length of the, So things like that can easily eat away your self-esteem. For me, it was the shape of my head. And they would say, meaning it's a spear because of the way my head is shaped. Now, she made this statement and it helped me to appreciate myself. I did not choose my height. I did not choose my head. I did not choose my nose. I did not. So she, in a way, in her own lesson, she found a way to bring in the aspect of guidance and counseling, just as an example. And as a teacher, you want to do that. Don't only teach the subject, train the child. Another lesson that we see quite a number of skills there that we need. I see the skill of public speaking, the skill of communication, empathy, communication, interpersonal skills, good communication skills, interpersonal skills, parental skills, adaptability and problem solving, mentorship skills. Don't spare the rod and spoil the child. Understanding individual differences in the students being taught. Those are skills. People are not the same. Ability to communicate to a student as per their understanding. That is a powerful skill. Leadership, interpersonal, coping up with change, technical skills. So those are skills that a teacher needs to excel in their role. Those are skills. And so all of us need to ask ourselves, what skills do I need to excel in my current role? Some of those skills may not have been taught to you in school, but you can pick them up, you can learn them. We need to acquire the skill, the ability to develop the skills that we need to excel in our current roles. So, number one is your knowledge. Number two is your skills. And in addition to what we have talked about, Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, said something significant. He said that there are 4 skills that all of us need in life, whether you are a teacher, a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer, a doctor, whatever career you have, there are 4 essential skills. Skill number 1 is the skill of leadership, because everything rises and falls on leadership. At any one point in time, for example, you could be a teacher and then you are upgraded to become the head of department. That is a leadership role. You could be a teacher and then one day you become a head teacher. That is a leadership role. You're not going to stay in your technical role forever. You need to develop the art of leadership. And a research has been done and they realized that most technical organizations are being led by non-technical people. Because as you grow higher in your career, it's not just about your competence. It's not just about what you can do. It's also about how well you can lead. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So skill number 1, according to Robert Kiyosaki, is the skill of leadership. Skill number 2 is the skill of public speaking. At any one point in time, you will be asked to stand up and say something. It might be at an assembly. Come and tell us how the students have been this week. You are the teacher on duty. It could be at a parents' meeting. The chemistry teacher, come and talk to us about the performance of chemistry in your year. It could be that maybe you have gone for Christmas. They say, oh, come and say hello to the people. It could anytime, anywhere, any day, you'll be asked to stand up and say something. You had better be ready. Because it is better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than have an opportunity and not be prepared. Let me say that again. It is better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than have an opportunity and not be prepared. That is the skill of public speaking. You never know. Sometimes you earn a promotion just because of how you spoke in public. In fact, it has been said that the fear of public speaking inhibits promotion to management by 15%. And it is so true that you find someone who is so good at what they do, but when you ask them, come and tell us about your work, they cannot express themselves. And yet they know how to do the work. They know how to do the work, but they do not know how to talk about the work. And you go for an interview, you find that the person who speaks well is the one who gets the role, and yet they are not as competent as the other person. It is so unfortunate, but it is the case. Develop the skill of public speaking. Number 3, develop the skill of basic accounting. Just basic accounting. In other words, learning how to manage your money. Talking about that right here, I have a book, just a few books that I would probably talk to you about. Okay. I think there is, okay, just 2. One is the psychology of money, something that everyone here should be learning how to do. Managing your money. How do you manage your money? Are you like one of those people that ask, where did my money go? Where did my money go? Is a question that is asked by someone who does not know how to manage their money. Another book that I would highly recommend is a book right here, T. Harv Eker, 21 Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Barbara Katende has written a beautiful book, Money Cures. Find a book on money and read it. The Richest Man in Babylon. Find a good book on money and read it, because you need that skill. You need the skill of learning how to manage your money. And skill number 4 that Robert Kiyosaki says everybody needs to know is the skill of selling. Selling. And by selling, we don't mean selling a product for money. It can also be selling your ideas. It can be the way you communicate, selling a concept, selling an opinion, selling a suggestion, or even selling a product. Because when you do that, you earn more money. So those are skills that we need. At the end of the day, skills are about what you can do. It's about turning your knowledge into practice so that you can develop your skill. Let's go to bucket number 3. Bucket number 3 is about your network. Your network is a bucket that is going to enable you to develop an impactful career. At the end of the day, who do you know? That is your network. We say that your network determines your net worth. Your network determines your net worth. So your network is very important. In fact, your network can enable you to build impact. Recently, I listened into a doctor. This is a doctor. He is a heart surgeon. This doctor operates on, handles different cases of the heart. So one day someone wrote to him on LinkedIn, found a post on LinkedIn from a girl who made a request and say, doctor, I would like you to help me and save my mother. This was someone from a low-income area. So they made an appointment and they met. And from the time they met, he knew that this lady cannot afford the operation. This lady cannot afford the service that they were offering, but she needed help. So what does this doctor do? This doctor calls the people in her network, in his network. First of all, he calls the hospital and says, are you willing to make an impact and save a life? Because there is a lady here who needs our help, but she does not have the money. Can you offer her a service for free? The hospital said, yes. He called the anesthesia, the person who offers anesthesia, and said, I have a case here. Are you willing to offer your service for free to save a life? He said, yes. He called the nursing team Are you willing to avail yourself and sacrifice your time just for us to save a life? They said yes. He called everybody that is required for that operation, and they all said yes. They made the appointment. The lady came in. She lay on the table. They did the operation for a number of hours, hospital free, nursing free, doctors free, everything free, and that lady's heart was saved. The reason why that doctor was able to save that woman's life is because of his network. Your network can enable you to make an impact. How are you using your network to create impact? Bucket number 4 is the bucket of your resources. Your career enables you to have resources. In other words, what do you have? Here we are talking about finances. Okay. And so your career enables you to have resources, which can enable you to have impact. That is the bucket of resource. And lastly, bucket number 5 is your reputation. In other words, as you build your career, you are going to build a brand. In other words, what do people think of you? That brand is going to enable you to create an impact. So those are 5 buckets. We've talked about knowledge, we've talked about skills, we've talked about your network, we've talked about your resources, and we've talked about your reputation. Now, let us see how these connect with each other. But before that, this is the author of the 5 buckets concept. Listen to him as he speaks about the theory.
The 5 buckets, which is law number 1, was an observation I'd had on my own life. And people always ask me, if you're young or if you're not, or if you're moving into a new industry, where should you focus? In fact, one of your colleagues asked me out there. The way that I look at it is there's these 5 buckets in our lives that we have to fill. And the story that I tell was one of my friends in San Francisco had a man running up to him. This man was sweating, a little bit out of breath, and said to him about building rockets and doing these chips in monkeys' brains and all this stuff. Then this man ran off. Then my friend said to me when I was in San Francisco, he goes, that man was Elon Musk. And interestingly, until he said that man was Elon Musk, I thought it was someone that had escaped from an asylum or something. But the minute you hear that it's Elon Musk, you hear that this is an individual with 5 full buckets. In life, we have these 5 buckets, right? The first bucket is our knowledge, which is what we know. When we apply what we know, it becomes a skill, right? And these first 2 buckets, your knowledge and your skills, are the only buckets in your life that no professional earthquake can ever unfill. They're also the buckets that overflow to fill these last 3 buckets, which is your network, your resources, and your reputation. When you have knowledge and skills, you'll undoubtedly build a network that will lead to resources, and finally reputation. Life can take away these last 3 buckets, but if you're a young person, the key takeaway here is when you're selecting that job, like I was at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, don't select for reputation, a nice jobs title. Don't even select for resources, getting paid more. Focus on jobs that will fill these first 2 buckets, which is knowledge and skills. And for me, that meant spending 4 years working in call centers, which still today I cite as being the single most important professional experience I ever had. I spent 4 years picking up a phone and speaking to people about double glazing or artificial grass or conservatories or car insurance. And that skill of sales and communication has then translated to raising hundreds of millions in investment, to building businesses, to hiring thousands of people, having a podcast. And so it's just a frame to think through, which I think will set you up better for life.
Okay, so very good example right there. He talks about the fact that he spent 4 years in a call center, working in a call center, picking up phone calls, learning how to speak to clients on the phone. What was he doing? He was acquiring knowledge and acquiring skill. And he says those 2, the first 2 buckets, and they are in order, the bucket of knowledge and the bucket of skill. Once you master those 2 buckets, once you become so good in terms of what you're doing, in terms of your knowledge and your skill, what will happen is that it will spill over into your resources, because then you'll attract more. Remember, we said when we learn more, we earn more. Now you'll have more resources. You'll even attract a better network, all right? And then you'll even have a better reputation. Many times we are looking out for a better paying job, and nothing wrong with that, all right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if your focus is on the money before you have acquired the skill, you might end up losing that skill, because that job, because you cannot sustain it. So acquire the knowledge, acquire the skill. Those 2 will bring you the resources, they will bring you the reputation, and they will expand your network. In a way, what we are saying is, number 1, your knowledge is about what you know. And what that means, when you know something in line with your career, your knowledge is what gets you into the room. So your knowledge is about what you know, and it gets you into the room. Because of what you know, you'll be invited in certain spaces. Because of what you know, you'll be sought after. Because of what you know, you'll appear at that interview and you'll answer those questions. Your knowledge gets you into the room. Your skills are about what you can do. What does that mean? Your skills determine how much influence you have in the room. Your skills, they will expand your level of influence. The reason you are influential in a certain space is because of what you can do. It's because of what you can do. The reason you command your pay is because of what you can do. The reason they will job hunt is because of what you can do. Those are the skills. The reason you are hard to replace is because of what you can do. That is a significant strength that you should harness each and every day. Then we have your network. Your network is about who you know, the relationships that you have built. Now, what does network do? It accelerates your impact. It accelerates who you know is extremely impactful. We came up with a phrase here in Uganda, Gambano. You know, Gambano, who you know. Oh, who you know is absolutely, absolutely critical. I can tell you every single year at the end of the year, I tally what the work, I review the work I did in the course of the year. And when I look at my work engagements, my speaking engagements, my training assignments, 99% of it came from my network. Someone knows Jesse and they recommended me to somebody. Network. Who you know accelerates your impact. Your network. Build your network. Your resources. This is about what you have. What you have. Your resources expand the scale of your impact. Because when you have more, you can do more. Your resources, they expand the scale of your impact. And lastly, your reputation is about what people think of you. Your reputation. It's about your brand. Your brand. Your brand is about what is said about you when you're not in the room. That is your brand, your reputation, what people think of you. Now, that's quite something. And I think we have had that conversation here before about your brand, in the sense that your brand is what other people think of you. Now, what is interesting about the brand is that it may not even be true. Because sometimes we think about people in a certain way. People position themselves in a certain way, and that's how we perceive them. It's about how people perceive you. Now, you want to get to a place where who you are is actually how people perceive you. Because, for example, there are people who perceive themselves so highly, they project themselves so highly, and they are perceived so greatly that they will be attracted to, they will be invited to a certain interview. And now it is in the interview room that now you project who you truly are. So your reputation is about how people perceive you. That's what the world thinks of you. What does it do? It determines trust, and trust will determine influence. That is what reputation does. You want to have a good reputation. But even more than having a good reputation, you want to be sure that you have a good character. Because at the end of the day, reputation is what people think about you. Character is who you truly are. So while reputation is about what people think about you, character is who you truly are. There are people we think of so highly until you meet them, and then you realize this is not the person I was seeing. So ensure that the person you are and the person people think about when they think of you are the same. That will build trust, and that will determine your level of influence. So let's begin to conclude. In conclusion, what can we say about all of this? Number one, we are saying that your career is not just about progression. It is about contribution. Many times we talk about career progress, career progression. Yes, let's think about career progression, but let us also think about contribution. What contribution am I making through my career, through my work? Think about contribution more than progression. When you build your career intentionally, your impact becomes inevitable. When you build your career through the 5 buckets, you build your knowledge base, you expand your skill set, you continue to grow your network, you expand your resources, and you continue to build a brand in form of a good reputation, your impact becomes inevitable. And the question I want to leave with you today is, what impact do you want to make through your career? What impact do you want to make through your career? I will leave you with a quote from Richie Norton that says, define your career by impact, not by title. Define your career by impact, not by title. It's not about I was the managing director of this company. It's not about I am the head of department of this team. It's not about no, it's not about the title. Define your career by impact. What impact, what contribution, what difference have you made in your career? Not just the titles that you held, because those titles may be forgotten, but your impact will never be forgotten. Your legacy will never be erased. The difference you made will never be taken away. So define your career by your impact, not just title. Thank you very much. Let's keep engaging and let's keep the conversation going, even online. Connect and engage as we continue to grow and become a better version of ourselves. All right. I am already seeing some questions, and maybe if I may ask, what is your key highlight or what is your major takeaway from the session as we get into the discussion of the Q&A?